Welcome to the special podcast where we're looking into the company Elovate. I'm Paul Comfort, your host, and on today's episode, we're talking to Rob Desanti, who's general manager of the company Elovate, and Todd Redmond, who is customer service director of the company. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, Paul, thanks for having us. Much appreciated.
Great to have you with us,
Paul.
Excellent. Well, great to have you with us today. We really want to take a deep dive into the company, one of the industry leaders in your field. Rob, as your general manager of the company, you're newer to the position, but you've had a long background in our technology field. You and I have known each other in a previous iteration of your career. Elovate is a new company coming out of the acquisition recently by Modaxo, but it has over 30 years experience in the field. What excited you about this opportunity to move here and to lead Elovate, and what opportunities did you immediately see?
I kicked the first part to that, and you kind of alluded to it. It's a brand new brand with 30 years experience. So for myself, selfishly, it was an opportunity to lead an organization that's relatively new, but with 30 years of backing. And how often can you start out kind of at the ground up, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So there was that. The other part was early on, as I started to research the industry, the thing that really caught my attention was the growth opportunity there. And then I know we'll probably talk a bit about some of the misconceptions, but I think the idea of embracing photo radar and what it really does for citizens and how it really does protect lives, and it's not necessarily that money grab people talk about, really appealed to me as well, because there's tons of opportunities for growth, not just in the US, but globally. And I like being a part of it at the ground.
Automated traffic enforcement, which is the field that Elovate works in, is not particularly what might be considered a sexy topic. And like you mentioned in your previous answer, it's not always popular with everyone. You know, they feel like Big Brother's watching or whatever. But how do you make red light and speed enforcement look sexy, but also explaining, the value of it?
I find that fun. I get that comment a lot. I actually got it at my son's hockey tournament recently when everyone found out what I did, and everyone kind of piled on with their opinions. But I mean, at the end of the day, what we're really doing is saving lives. So I really don't know many industries that can say that, or many businesses. So I'm sorry, I think that's extremely sexy. So that's the answer I'm going to get.
We were talking yesterday, you and I were, about this whole topic. And I remember, and I mentioned to you yesterday, when I used to drive into work in Hyattsville, Maryland, which is where University of Maryland College Park is located, when I worked at Washington Metro, I drove through a stretch of highway, which I was told had the most fatalities of anywhere in the state of pedestrians crossing the street and getting killed or injured. And I could see it with my own eyes. I never actually saw an accident, but I could see the opportunities for it. I mean, kind of having eyes in the sky, so to speak, is pretty important to keeping people safe, isn't it?
Well, it really is. I mean, at the end of the day, the number one complaint that I'll ever hear when we have this conversation is, but how can you issue a citation to be 1 or 2 miles above the speed limit? Well, the reality is it's not 1 or 2 above. There's a threshold of about 10. So you're basically saying it's okay to speed, 10 to 12 miles an hour above. And statistics will show, I think it's 4 miles an hour, the likelihood of fatality increases by about 50%.
Wow.
So it's really about saving lives.
Yeah, that's something. And for the brand itself, Rob, you've explained kind of what you do and why you do it, but what's your vision for the brand? You often speak about the importance of pursuing infinite goals as an organization. What do you mean by that?
Okay, well, I'd love to take credit for it. And I know often gives you credit, but it was actually a book I read by Simon Sinek.
Yeah, sure.
Pronounced that correctly. And it was The Infinite Game. And I think historically or earlier in my career, I would look at vision or goal setting more in what they would call a finite mindset. I want to be the industry leader, or we want to grow to X number in terms of net revenue. And after reading the book, it really gave me a better appreciation for how do you kind of round up the troops to follow in a direction. And really it's by setting goals that are, I wouldn't say unattainable, but that extend beyond the organization. So for us, it's really about saving lives. So we want to eliminate traffic fatalities. Now, we can influence that through photo radar, but by having that infinite goal or mindset, as the industry evolves and autonomous vehicles come, we can then become more agile and figure out how we sit in that market. So we're not just looking at growing the business, we're really looking for a bigger purpose.
I love that. I think it's so important for employees, especially young people today. They want their job to really be attuned to their values, and they want to be, aligning that. Todd, you've spent a lot of time with the company, maybe close to 20 years in this field, and you recently moved into the role of customer service director. What excited you most about coming to Modaxo?
Paul, I had the opportunity to spend some time with senior leadership at Modaxo early on in the due diligence process before the acquisition. And, to my surprise, and this isn't the first time we've been acquired. This is the fifth time our business has been acquired, and this is my fourth go around with it. And I was thinking it would be the typical, deep dive into finances and cost reduction. But actually, we had a couple of executives diving into what we actually do, not only just how we do it, but why we do it. Why are we here? What do your people believe in? And, I even think one of the executives could probably deploy a mobile speed camera himself. So it was a very strong first impression that mirrors the point, that's starting to resonate with me more and more every day I'm here with Modaxo. And that is potentially, this is going to be our forever home for businesses like Elovate. And the examples keep coming in, whether it's, looking at how we do talent review or our continuous approach to improving operations that's centered around people first. And it continues to impress me. So, these are kind of the things that are starting to tease themselves out as I'm here longer.
That's great, man. Yeah, people.
Sorry, just to interject
right.
there. That's okay, Paul. But and you're home for good, Todd. Right? I think that was one of the big appealing parts as well. So there's no more moving around, and you found a home forever.
Yeah, that is one of Modaxo's guiding principles is we acquire companies and we never sell them. So we're not like, one of these turn and burn companies, where they come in and strip you down and sell you off for the pieces. That's not the mode here. The mode is to make you better, to elevate the people that work for you, to not use a pun, but to help them improve themselves and their leadership skills and their abilities on the job, and to make it a great, valuable company for society, like you talked about, Rob, those infinite goals. It's really good. Along those lines, ATE, automated traffic enforcement, is, the topic, the hot topic of the day when it comes to what your company does. Todd, you've been around this business for a while. What are some of the burning questions in this automated traffic enforcement that are being asked by your clients, city governments around the world?
Yeah, work zones are on fire right now, Paul.
Work zone safety?
Work zones, yeah. And not in a good way. Work zone speed enforcement programs are a relatively new program, in particular here in the U.S. And they're in a direct response to the high rate of speeding deaths in work zone, exacerbated with what happened with COVID, because congestion's down, people speed more, especially in work zones. And, NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, is showing that year over year for the last almost 15 years, speeding through work zones is a key factor in fatals. And I think over the last couple, it's even getting worse. So it shouldn't be a surprise why agencies are gravitating towards enforcement as a potential way to improve highway safety. And so, with the agencies that we work with, and we work with most of the state agencies that have programs in the U.S., they do a great job at getting signage up, getting the cone zone established, doing work off peak, and getting the word posted about how dangerous it is to speed in work zones. Yet many drivers just slowed down, and not even to the posted speed limit. So a lot of improvements can be made. So in general, as there's a push, and I hope it continues this way, as there is a push for more transportation options besides the vehicle, but ultimately our roadways still need constant repair. And I think, it's our burden to do more in keeping roadways and workers safe. And as these programs mature, we'll develop best practices, and we'll be able to answer more of the burning questions with data supporting our program's success.
That's great. What about AI and machine learning? They're the hot topics people are talking about today. How important is this to your clients, and what are they asking about it? What opportunities and challenges do you foresee?
AI is in the midst of its hype cycle now, Paul, like smart cities and big data before that.
Yeah.
a lot of businesses that we, are in wait and see mode, but, I'm an urban planner and a technologist at heart, so I'm bullish on the evolution. Look, we've been working with a subset of machine learning called computer vision for many years now, and we recognized a long time ago that this is our future. We're in the business of interpreting fast-moving scenes in the wild, and so for many years, the computer processing wasn't adequate, and it was cost prohibitive for wide-scale adoption. Yet today, it seems like we may be turning a corner. So we're excited about new applications of the technology in our domain, and it's becoming widely available and fits our market well. So for instance, we have customers that are now doing multi-purpose detection and data gathering when they couldn't before. And these are some of our tangent objectives that we're able to accomplish now with this technology. So we can do enforcement for speed, helmet, cell phone, distracted driving with the same video feeds and imagery that we capture already for our primary violations. And, we captured a whole slew of data that would otherwise take an army of grad student interns to compile. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for this application within our business and the real applications rather than just buzzwords on sales decks.
Interesting. And you've been with the company for a while. What does Elovate do to support public acceptance and foster trust in automated traffic enforcement?
The issues often discussed, we find typically the outspoken minority paints a picture that this is an issue, it's a tax not voted for, or maybe it's a money grab, which captures the sound bites, it's clickbait, and garners article headlines. Yet the reality is most people just want to get home safely to their families and loved ones. So it's our job to help them do that. And so two strategies we often use with our clients. One centers around new programs and one centers on ongoing programs. And that's so when a new program starts, it's critical we get the word out. So we highlight the program is coming, we highlight it's in response to a behavior we're seeking to modify. And while the mode of communication evolves over time, the message remains the same. We need to stop dangerous driving. And it's best to get this message across with facts, oftentimes grim, but with a compelling advocate or two, it's important to stress how important what we're doing is. And then, we often function as public outreach and support for many of our clients. And this approach is effective, but it's not the end of the story. So we do the kickoff, and then once the second phase, and this is actually where the real work begins, that's where we see the long-term progress in ongoing programs. So, it's sometimes like a trainer at a gym with our customers, but we try and keep them working and continuing ongoing communication efforts, highlighting the long-term effectiveness of these programs and sustained reductions in dangerous driving by showing the reduction over time in not only fatals, because those often make the sound bites, but it's important to use data points that are statistically significant, like violations and near misses, as part of a long-term campaign.
Rob, Todd was talking to me a moment ago about AI and machine learning as potential future. What do you see as automated traffic enforcement evolves over the next 3 to 10 years, and what excites you most about that?
I think that's a great question. I think whether we're talking about AI, autonomous vehicles, or any other disruption in the market, what we need to be realistic about is the evolution of transportation is going to continue. I mean, if you look past the last 100 years, you see the car evolve, you see transit take off. At the end of the day, if our mission is to eliminate fatalities, we need to look at things like what Todd spoke of earlier, some secondary behaviors we want to achieve. So if I liken that to autonomous vehicles again, or the use of autonomous vehicles, the one that keeps me up at night is distracted driving, right? So how can you detect individuals that might be watching Netflix as an example as they're driving because they feel safe? And at the end of the day, that really is what we're trying to accomplish, is changing human behaviors, eradicating unsafe practices and those sorts of things. So I think any way we can leverage technology and be realistic and know that it's going to change. In 10 years from now, we're not just going to be talking about red light. We're not going to just be talking about speed. speeding or work zone fatalities, we're going to be talking about autonomous vehicles going off a cliff. How do we prevent that from happening? Because that's just a reality.
Yeah, I mean, you see it in the news every day, don't you, Todd? That's what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, I had to look this one up, but the Society of Automotive Engineers, SAE, so they first coined autonomous vehicle level 5 in 2014. And this was in response to it's coming in 5 years for the last 10 years a bit, where some automation is happening, but at a pace much slower than anticipated. And I think, they were saying at that time that we'd be automated in 2020, but, now it's looking like it's not going to happen in this decade. But, look, it is coming and it's on our roadmap, and we must account for these advances and in technology, be it, autonomous driving or vehicle to infrastructure, vehicle to vehicle communication. And, we're going to be supportive in hopes that we will drive to zero red lights and zero speed violations. And, for me, Paul, the exciting part and the most challenging issue, I think, is not necessarily the technology, but it's the societal impact of taking the keys out of our hands. I mean, a lot of us, I think, believe that driving is more than just a point A to point B transaction. It's a freedom to a lot of people. And most people don't take that lightly.
Although I can tell you, back to your original comment, I've ridden in driverless cars before. They're operating in places like Phoenix now as taxi cabs, et cetera. So it's just not out there everywhere, and they're still in pilot mode, but it definitely is coming. You got guys like Elon Musk talking about their next version of their vehicle. So it makes sense, right? We want to make sure that we're all safe. Hey, let's talk about the culture of your company. Both of you have personal interesting backgrounds, which I'll ask you about in a minute, but let's talk about the personality of your company, which is kind of what a culture is. What do you love most about working with the people at Elovate? Todd, you've been there for a while, and then I'll ask you, Rob, having started more recently.
Like I said, I've been through a lot of acquisitions in my career, and I'll tell you what drives my passion and the team's passion here in the core Elovate group is this collective commitment to saving lives, one stop at a time, despite various management objectives. And we're a group of individuals that care deeply about our communities, and I believe it reflects in our efforts. And I would say Modaxo's culture and commitment to moving people efficiently and safely, and joining Rob here at Elovate has been invigorating. And I see great things happening all around me, and I'm looking forward to a great 2025 and years to come.
Rob, how about you? What gets you up in the morning and drives your passion?
So it was a tough one for me to think of. It's a great question. For myself, what we're really trying to create in terms of culture is what I like to call a challenge culture. I think we have extremely dedicated and talented professionals. I think what we're trying to create is one where we challenge one another. I think working as a team towards a common goal is important, but more important than that is the ability to challenge one another in a respectful manner. And what I mean by that is that pursuit of continuous improvement, right? So my expectation with the team is to tell me when I'm wrong or to share an idea that I might not be thinking of. I think, we're including contractors, probably above 400 employees. So 400 brains will always be one. And I think that's very different than the environment that came over. And it's something that I'm trying to really push into the organization with the assistance of Todd and the rest of the leadership team, because I think that's really going to take us to the next level.
And that we're really talking about leadership there, Rob, and that is, from your perspective as the leader of the organization, what's some of the most important leadership qualities that you want to bring to your team and your organization, and what are you looking for in others?
So there's always going to be three key ones: curiosity, humility, and empathy. There's an expression around curiosity. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So the day you think that you don't need to be curious or you can't learn from those around you, I think is a day where you're going to start regressing professionally. So I really like to invoke that curiosity, have everyone ask questions. Again, that revolves around that challenge culture. I think from a humility standpoint, it really is, again, if you're wanting people to challenge you, you need to accept that you don't know everything. So you need to approach everything in that mindset of embracing other people's ideas and know that others can think of things that you might not have. So I think that's really important. And then finally, the empathy part. I think it's really important to allow everyone to bring their authentic self to work, right? We don't all think similarly, we don't. And the day we start to try and put people into boxes and say, this is how I want everyone to operate, I think is a day, again, where we regress as an organization. So I think with those three characteristics, you avoid things like complacency and you create a team where it's a lot more open and everyone kind of pushing towards a common goal as opposed to just a few people.
Todd, do you have any thoughts on that you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's trust. I get better collective results when the team is rewarded for taking risks. And when I support them with encouragement and help them out of those fixes and they learn from them, overall, the team produces a better result in the end.
All right, we've talked some about the company and kind of what the services you offer are. We've talked about the culture of the organization and what you look for in leaders and what's coming in the future. Let's talk a little about you, the guys who are helping to run this company. So Todd, let's talk about what you guys do outside of work. So what do you like doing when you're not at work?
I love skiing. I'm an avid skier. Been skiing my whole life. Now have my young kids who are her tweens into skiing. My whole family skis. And when I'm not skiing, I'm on the water. I love fishing, boating, and diving here in San Diego. So thanks for asking.
Diving. Wow, that's like going down deep.
That's it, buddy.
Yeah. Do you wear the full getup, like the oxygen tanks and all that?
That's it. Yeah.
Wow. Are you like a certified diver?
I am.
Okay. I had a good friend that was a certified diver. Very interesting. That's something, Todd. That's great. And how about you, Rob? What do you like doing outside of work?
So avid hockey fan, enjoy to play the golf as well. I'd say my real passion is just watching Liam. That's my son. Play hockey and kind of develop. So I spend a lot of time with Leo. If I'm not working or watching sports, I also like to read, watch movies. In the reading, I very much enjoy either business books, like one I kind of referenced earlier, or biographies. I love learning about individuals, history, and kind of understanding what the makeup of people. Hence why the documentaries. Most recent one I watched was actually on, I'd like to recommend it, Martha Stewart on Netflix.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I never knew that much about Martha Stewart, and I have a newfound respect for her.
That's interesting. Very good. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing your passion for the work you do and what you do and the importance it plays in our society for safety and, keeping everybody operating within the rules so we all can get around safely. That's the bottom line, I think. So if you want to know more about Elovate, you can visit the website, elovate.com, for insights and news on Elovate's automated traffic enforcement solutions. They also have important industry news and trends, as well as public information to help foster trust and acceptance in automated traffic enforcement. You can also visit Elovate on the company's very active LinkedIn profile. And please don't forget to subscribe and follow Elovate's brand new YouTube channel at Elovate Solutions with lots more exciting video content coming in the near future. And thanks for being with us today to learn more about this important company.